Hello there, and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We are back once again talking more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And today, well, Malachi Black's AEW contract is up very soon, if not up already. I'm not sure on the details. He might get some injury time added, perhaps. Who knows? That's happened a little bit of late. Though he hasn't been on TV, and it has been implied that on TV, I believe, that he is left. Obviously, everyone's thinking that he's WWE bound. But if TNA ain't being there, being like, hey, brother, come work for us, I think that is a big mistake from TNA. So I certainly hope that they are looking at bringing him in and offering him a contract of some sort, even if he's like, nah, bro, I'm going to WWE. Like, at least go over there and be like, hey, brother, is there any chance we could, see if you would come over here and see, if you can find some success over here before going back to WWE? Because if you go back to WWE with some momentum behind you, brother, you might be doing some stuff over there, a little bit more better if you go back there with some momentum. Yeah, they might be like, oh, well, we can give you some momentum and we can, start you off and do some stuff with you. But I don't know. Like, you've got to start thinking, well, at this point, and he's still a younger-ish talent, I would say, but it's sort of like he's already sort of transitioning into sort of a middle stage wrestler, where it's like you're certainly not at the beginning of your career, certainly not. And I'm sure he's won indie titles and whatnot, so you can't say that he hasn't done anything or whatever else it is. And it would be very easy to do stuff with him. Obviously, he's got a great gimmick. He's got a great look, he's very articulate, and he's a very good wrestler. These are all the attributes of somebody that can draw some money. And that can be a big deal. And I honestly think that Tony missed the boat. Tony could have done a lot with Alester Black. And really, made some money with him. Like, I know some people are not interested in the spooky bollocks gimmick or whatever, but I think that having a gimmick that sort of revolves around some of these things can work, and Malaki has found ways to make it work, It's not just spooky bollocks for spooky bollocks reasons, much like it was in WWE for the most part. Not in NXT so much, but it really didn't catch on in the main roster that much, really, because he really wasn't booked that much or whatever else it was and whatnot, and he really wasn't booked to win and to look like a major star. So it's one of those things, yes, it's under new management now, which, hey, this is the thing as well. Malaki, I don't know whether he's got a kid now. I'm not too sure. But he knows the WWE schedule. It's pretty brutal. Even with Triple H being, quote, one of the boys sort of back in the day, and sort of being able to see it from the talent's perspective, it's like, dude, this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, but the dates are still insane. Yes, if you want to do that, that's fine, 100%, that's up to you, but how brutal, basically almost 365 days a year can be, or whatever it is, 360 days a year, or whatever it is. Again, it's so many dates. It's so many things that you've got to be up with. And it's not just, again, if he really wants to be a top guy, and I don't know whether that's what he wants, perhaps that's another reason, ambition, or just lack of, not knowledge, but, opportunity or whatever else it is. Perhaps it's the gimmick, so to speak, of saying, well, you know, you don't go out there, and you can't really go out there because you might break the gimmick type thing. So it's like, well, we've got to give you something to something else, some other role in the company, and it's not going to be the top role. And at some point, you've got to be happy with, like, filling out that upper main event sort of thing and being a jobber, quote unquote, to the real stars at some point, if you're not going to put in the extra work, or you're not going to sort of dial back the gimmick a little bit, at least to go on to do interviews, and you're not, or if you're not really interested in doing interviews and you're not really interested in doing that side of things, like, there are very few people that can get away with being the top guy without having to really get out there, like, not just have one or two interviews here and there. You've got to be having interviews, and talking about the company and talking about what you're doing and being available and having a decent rate as well. It's really tough because, again, like, your time is money, but since you're going to be doing so many goddamn cameos or whatever else it is, or interviews and whatnot, like, you're going to have that. You're going to have to be getting a certain amount from all of this. But it's got to be affordable for the people that are, ringing you up and saying, hey, you've got 10 minutes or half an hour, whatever it is, let's talk. And you basically always answer the same few questions every friggin' time, sort of thing. So it's just one of those things. But again, that it is the game. You get paid to do these things and promote what is happening and what's coming up and whatnot. That's how it goes. But again, like, if TNA is not out there and trying to pursue Malaki, I think that's a big whiff, and that's a absolute, loss on their part. Absolutely, as you say, it's like, as I say, the problem sometimes. It's like, everyone's so focused on, obviously he's going to WWE, or obviously everyone's going to WWE type thing. Again, that's not always the case. Like, if you're going to WWE, like, how much opportunities are you going to get? Like I said this the other day, they have got an absolutely stacked roster. Maybe not quite as, like, fully stacked as what AEW does in some ways, because they've got a lot of people on their books that they really aren't using. But then again, WWE has a few people that are not really using either, so they certainly have a very stacked roster as well, like, of new people. But again, it's one of those things that they might want to do just because it's like, well, we've got another AEW defection, like, type thing. I get that, like, really, like, I don't know. It is, like, yeah, it's really tough. I hate the whole, well, he's just probably going to go to WWE type thing. Yes, so, that's the most obvious thing. But again, like, how much opportunity is there to go to WWE and do stuff? Like, honestly, really and truly, like, for real. Like, there's a lot of people there, and they're way, like, again, like, you could get opportunities to move up the card and whatnot, but again, are you actually going to stand at that mountaintop? Like, and it depends what he wants. Like, is that really what he wants? Does he really want to do 360 something days a year, whatever else it friggin' well is? Like, of not just of doing WWE, but doing the house shows, doing the interviews, doing all the stuff, doing all the travel and things that you need to do for that. It's a lot of work. Like, and like, recently, like, I think fairly recently, he hasn't really even had much TV time. And it's like, dude, it would be so easy to book this guy. Like, he is this killer. He's a freaking killer. Bringing him in, like, they brought him in like a killer in AEW, but then they lost interest or whatever. They had 30 other guys that were debuting in 2 weeks or whatever it was, and then it was like, again, whatever. But again, like, you've got to have something for everyone. Bringing all these people in probably was a bad idea, because it's like, yeah, they're there and they're available, but, like, what are you going to do with them all? And if you're just being like, oh yeah, it's too good of an opportunity to to pass up. Yeah, in some ways it is, but you've got to be like thinking, man, maybe we shouldn't go too hard after this one or too hard after that one. Right now, TNA is feeling very thin and very gutted. You know, they really need, you know, uh, this sort of thing. They really, really need this sort of thing. They, like another talent added to the roster, you know, to replace the people, or at least some of the people that they're losing. They need way more people than just one, but saying, hey, like, this is like at least something, like, even if they don't get him. Again, it's like at least they're trying to make offers to these people, and I'm half sure at least that they're doing that with this young man here. I would call him young man because he's still somewhat young man there, I think, at least. But whatever, it is what it is. Like, you've got to think that, they're trying to do this. Can they get the deal done? Who knows? But without, without trying, it's like, where'd you go? Like, TNA has a lot of opportunity for him. And, they could actually do something with him. Like I said, their roster's very wide open right now. So he would have a lot of opportunities to do a whole lot of stuff there, and do well there. Like, I don't see the the issue. The only issue, I guess, is perhaps the number of dollars or the number of dates or the schedule or something. In regards to bringing him in, like, or the want or desire to try to not outbid WWE, because you're not going to outbid WWE, and that's something that people have to realize. It's just not really feasible to outbid WWE. The only things that you could offer are a lighter schedule or some other perks, like saying, hey, if you come in 6 months' time, we'll give you the world title, or we'll give you a run at being one of our top guys. That's one of those only things that you can sort of, do. You can't do too much else with it. Because, like, what else can you do? You can only make an offer to people and say, hey, what do you think about coming in, doing some dates with us? We'll treat you well. We'll put you in a prominent position. There's not as many dates. Might be a bit less money. Like, whatever else it is. But you'll be a featured player, and, you'll be one of our top guys and probably win the world title, like, within a few months. Like, if not a year, or whatever else it is. So, just putting that out into the ether. Like, hey, we want to see if there's an opportunity here. No harm in asking. Like, or no harm in trying. Like, what the heck? If we're not even going to try, then we might as well shut this friggin' shop down. Like, that's what I mean. It's like, you've got to have that position of being like, no, we've got to try. We've got to do things. Or, like, just bringing in indie guys or guys from Mexico or Japan or whatever else it is that most people aren't going to know isn't really going to be all that effective. So bringing in somebody that has some big name value and that, you know, two companies now have like missed the ball with the guy. It's like, well, yeah, sure, you could try the management under Triple H, and you did well last time under Triple H, so you might have that rapport and that relationship there. But like, you've got to think, where am I going to fit in? Like, literally, where am I going to fit in? Like, what am I going to do? Like, and maybe that's some of the conversation that you have, but like, you don't have to think about where you're going to fit in if you're thinking about going to TNA, because you're going to be fit into the upper level. Same with, like, I was saying this about Miro. I was like saying, dude, like, he would fit well into TNA because, again, there would be a lot of opportunity for him there in which to work. There is so much space there in TNA right now that a lot of these guys would be great fits in TNA. It's just whether they can close that deal. So I'm going to be out there and saying, hey, come on, guys, let's try to make this happen, or try to see at least if we can, you know, do something, or at least like look into this, or, you know, this is something that the fans might want to see, you know, hey, let's see if we can make it happen, you know, and like sending him back to WWE with a hot run after a hot run in TNA doesn't sound bad either, even if he doesn't really accomplish a whole lot. At least he would be on a hot run of like main eventing shows or having a big feud or something else, and then he goes back to WWE if that's what he wants. Or he can stay in TNA and maybe, like, you know, actually become like one of the guys that's actually like a real like featured player, like, and then have more stock in yourself, because again, like, that's the only way you can offer a better deal with WWE. Like, you might know what deal you're going to get with WWE, but if you go to TNA and you have a hot run or whatever, you might be like, or even on the indies, reinvent yourself, do something different or whatever else it is. Then you might be like, well, maybe now my options with WWE are better. You know, like, your options with TNA or whatever else might be short-lived or whatever it is, but, you know, like, you could still do that or do the indies or whatever else it is you want to do. But again, like, if TNA is not out there and trying, then I'm going to say, hey, you guys better be trying to at least think about getting this guy, and saying, hey, do people actually want to see this? You know, maybe you guys will say, nah, we don't want to see Malaki or alester in TNA. Screw that guy. Whatever. You know, like, he has a neck beard. Whatever, I don't know. Like, but some people are like that, where it's like, nah, he's just a perennial jobber or whatever. No. Like, that's what they've done with him, you know. But that's not what TNA could do with him. TNA could do whatever they want with him, and they could make him more of a jobber. But I wouldn't think that they would, because he'd be on too big of a contract to bring in and be like, oh, well, we're not really gonna do much of anything with you, or much, you know, like he'd be have to be a centerpiece of the show. So yeah, and I could see him feuding with Joe Hendry or with Santana or with a bunch of just other people that are on the roster there. Callahan and a whole bunch of other people that are kind of there. Like, he could be, like, maybe later on he could be a good baby face. I think he'd be better brought in as a heel, honestly. There's a few guys that have been there, like Brian Cage and W. Morrissey, or Big Bill as he's now known. So yeah, like, it's one of those things of thinking, like, you know, it's there, you know, the opportunity's there, so, you know, let's see what we can make of it. But guys, tell me what you guys think, even if you think, oh, you know, is it worth it or whatever. I think it is. I think it could be something good. But yeah, let me know, and I hope to see you guys again in another one.